So first off, to everyone who's here, thank you for being here. I know it was a long, busy day there in the showroom floor, but it was a great group of folks. So thank you all for being here. Wanted to definitely thank Krista, Megan, and the whole team here at Eastlake for hosting us. It's a lot of work. Yeah, as everybody knows, put these things together, and they're the most gracious host around. And then to the Georgia PGA for being here to kind of put all this together and then socialize it for our members to get their continuing education credit. So kind of without further ado here, I'll introduce the stars of our show today. Chris Warren, Creative Director for Turtleson, and Andy Plate, President of Turtleson. And want to thank Larry Lyda. Larry covers Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, the Panhandle, and Tennessee for Turtleson, and really kind of help coordinate the effort with Krista to put all this together. So it's a real pleasure to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so if I haven't gotten a chance to meet you, my name is Russell Riddell. I'm with the Georgia PGA Board of Directors, and I'm hopefully up here to not talk a whole lot and to let these guys share their experiences with everyone. You know, it was funny when we had our kind of pre-read for this. You know, I think everybody was definitely on the same page that you know the fun of these is to give insights on the industry, give insights to folks. I mean, you guys live in a different world than a lot of us do. Some of us get a peek in every once in a while, but you guys live it day to day. So we're excited to hear kind of you know all the different things that you have to share with us.
Right.
So, but to start off, from what I can tell, this visit's a little bit of a homecoming for both of you. So why is that?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Both Andy and I, in our previous jobs before we were with Turtleson, he was with Polo and I was with Bobby Jones, and this was our territory. And we were reps in this territory. I did it for 20 years. I think you were close to that.
Yep, 15 years.
So, and Eastlake's one of the first accounts I ever called on when I first started working there. So it's really like a homecoming, coming back here and see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces as well. But it's neat to be back down here again.
And a treat to be in this building. I mean, really, it's amazing property. So thank you guys for hosting us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tough place to come.
Yeah, it's
like
terrible.
Yeah.
We were really looking forward to returning to Atlanta until we got 5 miles north of 285 today, and then the dread.
Yeah.
So we got through it.
I always wonder if that gets old for folks. But, people are a little. I guess they get used to it around here.
Yeah.
So you guys were both reps in the area. You know, first off, want to hear a little bit about I guess what it was like to be a rep for 20 and 15 years. In this area, how maybe some things have potentially changed that you've seen. Probably start there.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I learned a lot, covering this territory, and it's been really fun to kind of transition into a different side of the business as we get a little older and mature. But I had a lot of great years calling on accounts down here in this area and my whole territory for that matter.
Some of the best facilities in the country. I mean, it seems pretty obvious. Chris and I were joking earlier. He and I operate so differently. I'm more of an analytical numbers guy, deal in spreadsheets, and he's a little bit more of a creative freewheeler a little bit, which I admire, and the way we handle, we compared notes about how we worked with accounts, and kind of thinking back on those days as a rep, I would always go through with a plan, and some numbers, and Chris just
I would never have a plan.
I would just want to show product.
I would just want to show product and talk about the product, and there's a lot of different ways to do that job, quite frankly. Both ways work, by the way, and I think that there's a whole lot of different ways to rep a line and to buy a line also. It's just everybody looks at it a little bit different. There's really no right or wrong to it.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot of reps and buyers obviously in the room, and they would probably all be able to pick out which ones are the creative side and which ones are the very analytical
for
side,
sure.
and how you kind of manage dealing on both sides with that.
Yeah.
The other change that's noticeable for all of you who are in the ballroom, is amazing how many great brands there are. I mean, we're delighted to be doing what we're doing, but we recognize the competition is fierce, and it's a room full of talent and great product, and frankly, 20 years ago, it wasn't that deep. And I think there's some barriers to entry that have been minimized, and more brands coming along all the time. But if you walk through that room today, it's one solid brand after another. So Larry's got his work cut out.
Yeah.
We all have our work cut out
Well, the
for
good
us.
news there also that the business is healthy, you know, and we're very gracious to be in this business, as I'm sure everybody else is here. So it's been a fun ride.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, I'll probably get in trouble for this, but I always joke that, you know, the golf side of things, you know, is a small, tight-knit group, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it is. And you guys, you know, kind of work on the other side of that for a lot of your day.
Yeah.
So now transitioning from being a rep, you know, coming into all the different kinds of facilities, because you guys know, I mean, Georgia isn't just East Lakes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's a lot of different facilities, you know, from size and scope. But going from that pretty tight-knit world to the other side, where all of a sudden you're sourcing globally and
Yeah.
working with people from different parts of that industry. You know, so tell us individually what that transition
Yeah, well,
is like.
it's a big transition when you've been in one territory for your whole career. And my territory was the Carolinas and Georgia, so the Southeast. And then you start to see things both from a national perspective and how it's different in the Northeast, it's different in California, it's different in the Midwest. People buy different products, different different brands. Even the same brand, they buy it very differently. And then also to start to look at a business globally. We've been lucky enough to develop a really nice business in the UK and Scotland and Ireland in particular, and to see how they see things a little differently as well. And most of the people going over there are American tourists, but they buy it a little different over there. Everywhere, every area has a little bit of a different feel to it. So it's been interesting to kind of learn more about that after just focusing on your tight territory for most of my career.
Yeah, so before I got into the apparel business and into sales, I was actually a golf professional. And I think what I see on our side and what I do day to day in terms of the planning and strategic development and how I kind of build an assortment plan and the financial plan for the season, I think is akin to what most of y'all do, or the shop managers, golf professionals, buyers do to plan their business on a seasonal basis. It's not wildly different than that. You know, you want the right product at the right time to meet the need and meet your financial objective. So from that standpoint, it's very similar. From being a rep, it's quite a bit different.
Yeah, it kind of interesting. So one question, kind of a follow-up
Yeah.
here. You know, okay, so obviously overseas, it's a big, you know, big world.
Yeah.
What other markets are you guys interested in? Or are there others that have kind of?
Yeah, so it's
circled on
really
that?
wherever there's, you know, the golf business is strong. We've had good success in Europe, in particular, it's in the UK, but also in South Africa and New Zealand, Australia. Those markets are burgeoning as well, and golf is strong in all those kinds of places as well. So that's kind of the other markets that we're after. We also do a men's specialty store business as well, which is a little different from golf, but they buy the same product, they buy it a little differently as well. And so those are kind of the main markets that we're after as much as anything else.
Geographically, we're pursuing Canada as well and have some
Yeah.
solid conversations with folks in Canada, a distributor who handles the whole country. And also we have a corporate business, a gal who we had gotten to know who's just been in that business for years, which is considerably different than the Greengrass channel in terms of their requirements. So she came on board with us a couple years ago and is doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I learned a little bit about that Canadian business up there. It's a different model up
It
there,
is.
but man, golf is strong, especially
is.
you know,
Yeah.
in that western oil field
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah, so always kind of interesting to hear about those. Now, do you feel like you have to design differently?
I don't think so. I think what we have to do is have a balanced, and any good brand has to have a balanced, diverse line, because everybody's got a little different taste. So you definitely need a point of view for who your brand is, but I think balance within that line is really critical, and so that you're not just showing everybody striped shirts or everybody printed shirts or everybody hoodies. You got to have a balance of all different categories, and across those categories, balance of different styles and different fabrics, you know, a little bit of something for everybody. And if you do it right, you can fit in almost anywhere.
We're
Yeah.
going to go deep into the fabric conversation.
Okay.
I want to hear more
Good.
about this, but,
Yeah.
but I did have something on my notes here, because it sounds like, you know, coming back here represents a little bit of an anniversary.
It does.
You know, for the Turtleson brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll speak to that for a second because it relates back to where we are today. And actually, Amy's in the room to attest to this. But 9 years ago, we were launching our first full spring line of 2015. I was roughly 2 weeks into my job. And Amy was hosting a show at Druid Hills. And I rolled in there with a rack about a third of the size of what Larry's got set up today. And no appointments and just was kind of setting up with my fingers crossed, and had some folks come by, and Chad and Krista actually stopped by, and we had a nice chat. They gave me some great feedback and really a vote of confidence that we were kind of doing some of the right things to kind of kick this thing off. So thanks to them for their early support, and again, thanks for hosting us here today and letting us be involved with this.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I guess where, the thought was to have the conversation go next, and you guys will, probably drive this part of the ship a little bit more, but, there's a lot of great topics to go to. I can't wait to hear about, like, how you get inspiration to even start on planning the next season, and then how that kind of needs to flow back and forth. But I would guess, does it start with inspiration or planning?
It really starts with more of a financial plan that's really set, financial plan and strategic plan. So as you mentioned, where are we trying to look to grow in Canada, or on a completely opposite end of the side, we launched a little women's line. So some of those strategic conversations happen early, involving our owners, and we develop a revenue or a financial plan tied to that, and come up with some sort of an assortment plan or a SKU plan that we hand off to Chris and his design team to kind of take it from there. So I have no idea where they come up with the inspiration for what they do. It blows me away every season. I'm more on the number side and like to keep it that way.
Yeah, we do. Well, it's wonderful to have a partner like Andy. We have a great balance between us. We think differently about a lot of different things, but we're really close friends as well. And so having him to work with and to keep me in line. So we come up with inspiration. Mainly, it all starts with color. From what we believe our brand is mainly about color, and how we mix colors and apply colors to patterns, and is really, I think, what makes us who we are, and a little different from who everybody else is. And there's no right or wrong to that. In my opinion, there's room for all these brands to do business, and the healthier we all are, the better we're all going to be. But we start with color, and then we start with little inspiration boards, and it's the timeline of it's been really interesting over the past few years, especially since COVID hit. We all went through the supply chain demand stuff a couple years ago. It's been nuts. We used to work 6 to 8 months out. Now we're working. We started working. So Larry got his spring 24 line last week, which is what everybody else is selling here as well. We started designing spring of 25 about 6 weeks ago. So we're a full year ahead of when the reps will start showing it. We're conceptualizing color. We work into color groupings. We use some forecasting services, which most companies use. I try not to stick too closely to those forecasting services, because you can wind up looking like everybody else in the room if you do that. But we try to take those and then put our own ideas about color and mix the two together. And then from there, from a color standpoint, it goes into pattern and ideas and new fabrications. Again, always trying to be balanced and diverse. We know what our bread and butter is, which is a 92 poly 8% spandex, jersey golf shirt. But we try to also offer some balance in fabrication, so we're not doing just that. So we offer some different fabrications, different patterns, different weaves. There's all different things you can do just to be diverse and balanced.
So where are your factories mostly based on?
So we make a lot of stuff in the Far East, as most everyone does. Korea and Vietnam. We do the best we can to keep everything out of China because of some of the issues with that country. But mostly Korea, Vietnam. We make product in Peru as well. We make some product in Turkey as well. But really all over the world. Unfortunately, not in the United States. That's almost impossible these days. But we try to be diverse in the other parts of the world also. If you look at what happened with COVID, certain countries just shut down. And what we're afraid of is if we're not diversified with where our factories are, if something like that hits, say something like that hit Korea, we were making all of our knit shirts in Korea, then we'd be dead in the water. So we learned from that time period, and we've tried to diversify where we're making, and not even within a category, that we're not making it all in the same country, just in case we run into a situation like that again.
Yeah. Always interesting, because obviously your team has thoughts and hopes of what the product will look like.
Yeah.
But it's got to be interesting working with the actual manufacturer to
Yeah.
make sure that those things come through. Can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about that process?
Yeah, so it starts with, I have a team of 3 they're all technical designers. One of them is a little more creative. The other one's really a product developer, and one of them's a fabric developer. And they start, once we start with color and pattern, and then we start deciding which goes to which fabric, which goes to which factory. And that team, and they're all trained technical designers. They communicate more with the factory. I'm just the idea guy. I don't know how to do any of the stuff technically. I don't know how to put it on a CAD on the computer. I just give them what's in my head, and then they apply it and come up with all the different work. And they really communicate more with the factories, as does Andy from a buying standpoint. When he's putting orders together and so forth. So it's really a team effort.
We lean on those factories too. Some of the better partner factories will come to us with new fabrics that they developed, and it really gives Chris and his team inspiration. So we're not starting from scratch. We can see what's kind of the latest and greatest, what some others are doing. We won't necessarily take it as is, but we can morph off of that to kind of create what we want.
And it's really interesting. What I've come to learn, I did not know this before I took on this role, is that a lot of us use the same factories. We certainly do. And again, that's healthy competition. And I think that's a good thing for the industry. But yeah, there's a lot of companies that you all buy from that they're making a lot of the stuff in the same place. And it happens every day.
You have to fight for that space?
You have to fight for the time in the factory. You have to know when your orders are going to be placed and if you want to deliver it on time, which I think is one of the most critical things. Aside from having an interesting product, you got to deliver good product and deliver it on time. And we pride ourselves on being able to do that. But you have to get the space in the factory, the time allotted well ahead of time. It used to be, you could give them pattern work and work to do, and within 4 to 6 months, now it's more like a year. So it's really the timelines. That's the world changing, shipping changing, cost of shipping changing, cost of fabrics changing, and also a healthy, robust business. Those factories were full the past couple of years.
Yeah, launching all the new brands that we've talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, that all takes, if they're all out of those same factories, they're absorbing capacity that otherwise would have been easy to get.
Yeah.
So we're having to plan out further in the future and give them at least commitments, maybe not specific purchase orders, but commitments that we're going to buy a certain number of units on a certain date, and that helps keep that flow going.
I always think it's interesting because, again, when you're on the buying side, right? From a green grass buying side, you're presented with options, and you sometimes you don't know what all goes into planning for those options. So part of that is, tell us about growing this business, because you all got started at its infancy. Correct?
Yeah. Andy was in a year before I was, and then but right from the beginning of the brand, we've been there, and it's really been cool to watch it happen, and you get very personally attached to it, and it's like watching your child grow, watching a business grow, and we've been fortunate enough to have a good last 7 or 8 years and watch the brand grow, like I said, across the country and really across the world. It's been really fun to watch it happen, and especially coming from the side of a rep, and I would think also from the side of a buyer as well. A lot of times when I was a rep, I was very frustrated with the line I had to sell because it wasn't what I knew my buyers wanted to buy. Yeah. But you were given a line, you had to go out and sell it. So to actually have your hands on it and be able to give your customers what you want to give them has been the most rewarding thing for me as someone who was a rep previous to this.
So one of the things that we've relied on in growth, especially in the infancy of the company, was the willingness of our factory partners to kind of work with us to reduce their minimums, right? So we're small, under $1 million the first year, and to really kind of get that business off the ground. We couldn't buy 2 styles with 2,000 or 3,000 units each. We had to spread it out and buy 200 each, or even 100. And most factories don't really allow that. Yeah. If they do it, there's a significant upcharge. And so we were really fortunate to find a few factories who allowed us to kind of take really low minimums and not charge an upcharge, not charge a deposit, because a deposit that you have to pay before the production even starts really means that you're exposing your cash all the way until not just that you get it, but the time the golf shop receives it and pays it. So it could be 180 days, even more, sometimes up to a year, but by the time you end up selling, shipping, and receiving dollars back. So it was really, just like we need great account partners, customers, and the partnerships that come with that, having these great vendor partners really is what gave us the opportunity to grow from infancy. Now, as you scale a little bit, then that whole dynamic changes considerably, and you start looking at ways to improve your relationship with them, but with bigger quantities. But it was a blessing that we were able to find a couple factories in particular who were really committed to helping us grow the business and taking on some smaller volumes.
And they've grown with us as our business has grown. Those factories have grown with us, and we are now able to use the larger factories as well as our business has grown. But we've kept business with the people that helped us get going as well. So that's been the other fun part of building it is building a sales force, which everybody here can kind of relate to, and building with reps through our. Through Andy's and our experience in the business, we've been able to, Larry and I worked together in a previous life. We've got a handful of people that he and I both worked with before, but we've been able to build a really good sales team across the country. And that's also been a fun thing to watch happen as well, and to see people be really successful with the brand that you knew if you had the right rep and the right product, they could do it. And to watch them do it is really meaningful as well.
It's got to be the same on the other side of the business, right? Having a good golf pro that you've seen come up through the ranks, and you've invested time and effort in them, and they got full buy-in on what you're doing. One of the things that I think has been close to a lot of people's mind, obviously we know the shipping challenges and all that, but the fulfillment challenge, Andy, I think, when we talked before this, that was something that always interested, because we've seen, those fulfillment challenges be there, embroidery challenges, getting stuff out the door. How have you guys balanced that?
It's a sequence of events that happens, and you can't miss a step. So the product has to be there on time from our vendor, and we have to be able to pick it efficiently and get it to our embroidery facility, or get it lined up and staged for embroidery with all the correct requirements attached to it. But we've invested quite a bit. In fact, our biggest investment over the last 18 months has been in a new facility in Bristol, where we have a self-contained facility. It's a warehouse, pick-pack facility, our own embroidery. We do have an outsourcer, a third party who helps us with embroidery, but it's given us the opportunity and the kind of the autonomy to manage our own flow and our own cadence. COVID really changed the timeline, but once we learned what that new timeline was, we were able to kind of work around that. It's eased a little bit since then, but it helped us really kind of sharpen our edge a little bit by understanding what we really needed to do to deliver product on time.
It's amazing how much just goes into, I kind of joke, every club knows their logo.
Yeah.
Right? They know their specific size, club colors, all those different details that they know.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see, companies who really pull it off well to be able to service that, because, they know it, but you guys have a lot of different things going on.
It still shocks me when we send an order, especially a significantly sized order that we need to turn quickly. The fact that they can get it turned around as quickly as they do, knowing the number of hands that touch it. And I was never, even in a previous company, didn't really see the step to step to step, but how many people touch the product from the time it gets picked to all the stages in embroidery, then on to shipping. It's really wild to see.
Yeah.
I think that's what, as we were going through a bunch of challenges with things, people obviously were used to things flowing relatively smoothly, and that part has always been pretty fun to watch. What other parts of the business have been fun to watch grow? Obviously you deal with a lot of the more logistical side of things.
I got a highlight of my career, to be honest with you. I'm not just saying this because he's sitting right next to me, but watching our entire team grow. Chris went to school and studied fashion merchandising. His aspiration was to do exactly what he's doing. Yeah. I have great pride in the fact that just watching him do that. But it's not just Chris. There's a team of people that we built in Bristol who are all right in that area. And it was really kind of the vision of our founders and owners to build a business in Bristol, Tennessee, and to see people who've had really limited or even no experience in golf in particular, or even apparel, kind of move into these roles and really embrace them and kind of help develop the culture and the process and the systems, and then build a team under them. It's really a highlight of my career to be able to say that those people are kind of making a living, supporting their family, and being by being a part of Turtleson.
Yeah, they had a real vision to build. They wanted to build a company that was run, and they ran it out of their hometown of Bristol, Tennessee. They're two guys that have been for instance, they were toddlers. They're lifelong best friends. Their specialty is really that warehousing, and some sourcing is kind of their background. Excuse me. But they wanted to build a business there in Bristol, and we employ 40 people, roughly 40 people there. It's a really unique warehouse. We have robots picking orders now. It's really cool to see all that has happened over the past 7 or 8 years. So it's a state-of-the-art facility that we just moved into a year ago that they built after our growing out of the other facility.
Yeah,
So-
frankly, some of the decisions that were made, I was scratching my head a little bit.
Yeah.
We bought the whole robot system. We bought an enormous folding machine to help, and I was thinking, God, is this the best use of our money? And absolutely, for
Yeah.
the scale of the brand and the future growth of the brand. So another case where I was wrong. They were absolutely right in investing in this technology and the ability to really kind of take this thing into the future.
Yeah.
But you said something that resonates with me, dealing with multiple different brands, having it be core a golf company, right? I mean, there's such an understanding of what our business expects, the nuances that are in golf that would, just not even be considered in other businesses. You go speak with other folks in other worlds.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we do in golf are so personal, and the culture has to be there to understand kind of, what's expected.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because I also hear that, the golf business is behind all of these other, industries, right? We look towards high fashion maybe for inspiration.
Yeah.
So maybe you can speak to that. I think
Yeah.
on my notes, how do you, forecast trends in a business that is historically seen as behind the times?
Yeah, it's not easy. We look towards high fashion. When I say high fashion, we look towards more luxury brands in the menswear industry that aren't in golf, and we try to take inspiration from those and bring them into our world in an understandable way and an affordable way as well. But really, we're looking at mostly high-end, a lot of Italian brands in particular, because they tend to be at the forefront of the fashion. They're usually 4 or 5 years ahead of us. So we just try to look for inspiration.
We are behind.
We are behind. It's not just the golf business is behind, the American market's behind. And it always has been that way. And so you can look to Europe in particular, but you need to be looking for 2 to 3 years down the road, kind of what's coming. They're showing pleated pants over there now. So you see we're probably 4 or 5 years away from pleated pants coming back.
Let's
That's
make
just
it longer than that.
Yeah, but that's the kind of, and we
So
look.
joggers are out and pleated's back in.
It's coming eventually. It won't be your old pleated pant. It'll be a modern version of it. But yeah, there's a lot. So there's a lot of places like that to inspire. We shop. I shop other markets, in particular the luxury menswear market that's not golf, and try to be inspired on things that can move into golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so, obviously he's got the creative side of that, but there's obviously still trends in, the business side of things.
Absolutely.
So, you're investing in technologies to help, become more efficient in the packing and fulfillment. Are there any other things that you're seeing?
Absolutely, and I think everybody's kind of onto it. It's not really kind of a trend or a flash in the pan. It's here to stay. But e-commerce absolutely is a thing. I mean, it sounded even silly for me to even just say it like that. Everybody, it's part of how people are going to be operating. And we've signed on with RepSpark. I assume a lot of folks in the room are using RepSpark. It's a valuable tool. We feel like it's a great way to communicate with our customers and help them create or develop incremental sales. But we're also looking to leverage our own e-commerce platform. We use Shopify as the platform, but not just to deliver our brand message, but also to create incremental opportunities. So we've done some virtual trunk shows and virtual shopping opportunities and some affiliate programs where buyers or shop managers can earn incremental dollars by selling goods through our website. We also have a significant opportunity for gift giving in that. So whether it's the corporate market or for member guest events. So leveraging e-commerce, and for those of you who are not leveraging e-commerce, it's here to stay, obviously. That's, again, sounds silly for me to even say it like that. If you're not investing in that for for members who aren't coming around your shop day to day, or who, they're transient, they live up in the mountains in the summer and they're here in the winter, for you to be able to communicate to them and sell product to them at specific times, whether it's for holiday gift giving or for whatever it is, they want to buy goods while they're not in your shop. it really is a way to create incremental opportunity. So I'm deeply invested in that. I see the opportunity there, and I feel like it's something we're gonna keep pushing on.
And you all, obviously having a green grass focus on things, how do you balance, do you do, I guess, direct to customer on your website? How do you balance, what the focus is on what your business model is?
We do direct to customer. He could probably speak this. What we don't do is we try not to be too promotional in our direct to customer. We don't want to be competing with our customers. Our biggest chunk of our business is a wholesale business. It's selling to golf shops. And so we would never want to do anything to jeopardize that. But we do have an e-commerce business, and I think it's kind of a necessity these days. I think it's a brand building exercise as much as anything else as well.
It's a great way for us to tell the brand story, for them to see. So when in a general average golf shop, whether it's 15 to 24 SKUs, if we have 200 SKUs in the line, that's 10 or so % of what we're actually offering. And so for the world, including members of your clubs, to see everything that we're doing, I think is good for the brand and hopefully good for the club. So when they walk back in at some point, have a better understanding of what Turtleson is all about and have some confidence when they can, buy the product right from the club. And we try our best to over communicate that our product is sold in private clubs and men's specialty stores, and we even have a feature on the site that directs folks to, or at least identifies where we're selling the product. So as Chris said, we're really not trying to compete against. We do have to find a flow of liquidating good. I say liquidating. We do promote some product. We discount product, and I think I doubt that there's a vendor in our space who's not doing some of that. We've tried really hard to resist the temptation to kind of saturate that and really rely on the fact that we're wholesale first, and we really want to protect that market and not compete, as Chris said. It's a balance for sure.
Yeah. So what is exciting that's coming up? Maybe Chris, that's a good place for you to start. You don't have to give away any of the secrets.
Yeah, no, there's no secrets. We're not that good.
Spring
No.
25. But,
Yeah, no,
what things do you look forward to?
I look forward to this. We just broke this new line within the last couple of weeks, and it's nice to see. We had our sales reps all in Bristol for a sales meeting last week, and the excitement that they have about getting out with a new line is always exciting. And then from a design perspective, we're wrapping up fall 25 right now. We're kind of double dipping. That's pretty much done, but there's a lot of little checks and balances at the end to be sure that we've got samples ready for our guys to go by the first of the year. We're trying to move our calendars up so we can get samples out to reps earlier and let them get started earlier. And we're being successful with that. So fall is always a really fun season to design because spring is basically a knit shirt season with some layering pieces and some shorts, but it's really a knit shirt season, especially in the southern half of the country. But with fall, you get to do sweaters and outerwear and hoodies and and all the different categories that you can't do for spring. So that's a fun line to put together. So we'll be excited about that coming out in January. And then, like I said, we're already looking at colors and patterns and working towards the next spring as well. So to me, the newness is what keeps it fresh for me as much as anything else.
I want to say, and I know this is being documented, I'm looking right in the camera, and I know I've got audio on, but the guys in Bristol, including Chris, have been really interested in launching a women's line, and I've been pulling the reins saying, well, let's just kind of sit tight on that for a little bit. And the design team came out with this wonderful little assortment, a wonderful package that's perfectly assorted, and I'm blown away by it. So I was, again, wrong about that, and I feel like it's been, well, certainly the sales reps received it very well last week.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a nice incremental opportunity for us to partner with a club who is building a Turtleson business and wants to cater to their women's audience.
We'll also be developing for fall of 25, there's going to be a collegiate aspect of the line as well. So we're getting into that business as well. But our shops will have access to do that where we have the right licensing agreements. And so there's a lot of newness, a lot of new things, new categories to keep growing.
Job
Yeah.
just to keep up with those.
That's fun. It's something new every day. It's
Yeah.
true. That's one of the big differences is that we've gotten into something where every single day it's kind of a new endeavor. Wake up not knowing exactly what's going to hit you, but it's been a lot of fun.
So much energy in that space, especially when you can get, the university's new product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've seen that they're used to kind of playing in the same space for a long time. So
Yeah.
when they see something new, a new spin on it.
And we're into it ourselves. I mean, we're college football fans, and we like just the idea of it. I'm an SEC guy, so I love the fact that we've tied up some licenses with a few SEC schools, and we're really going after a number of others. So it's fun to watch.
Yeah, who's your teams?
I'm an Auburn guy.
Auburn.
I'm a,
Bobby.
War Eagle.
yeah. I'm an East Carolina Pirate.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Coastal Carolina.
Yeah,
Yes. No, that's great. I actually, I kind of feel bad I didn't bring this up before, but what, one thing that I heard that I really was told by somebody in the audience to check in on
Okay.
was, you talked about different weights of fabrics
Oh.
for different seasons.
Yeah.
Have you, tell us about how impactful the weight of a fabric.
I just have to speak to this real quick,
Go
and
ahead.
you can get into the technical quality,
no.
but I know exactly what you're speaking about. And I got into it as some, I'm sure the reps in the room can attest to this. You get into a little rhythm or a cadence and start repeating some of the same phrases or same magic words that you feel like are going to really communicate and I, for a while, was telling a specific customer / partner that we had, this is such a great weight. Everything was a great weight. So obviously either none of it was a great weight, or I was just wildly overstating what was a great weight. But it is something that as Chris uses the word balance, we all do internally, but trying to find weights that can balance out the line and not be too light, but you do want some lightweight to provide some movement and some warmth, but you also want a weight that you can play golf in and will carry you through the day. So
We're going to let him jump in on this because I
appreciate
want
that.
to.
Yes, I want him to speak now too, but now I know.
I heard all about your. Ooh, look at this one. This
I didn't
is
know
nice.
anything
Such a
about
good
it.
weight, isn't
This
it?
one, it's such
Yeah.
a good weight.
I learn something new every day about Andy, so it's always entertaining.
We'll let him tell you the story.
Yeah, no, weights are, I think balance of having different weights in the line, both from knit shirts to layering pieces to sweaters to outerwear. In a knit shirt specifically, the real lightweight stuff some people love, some people it might be a little clingy for them. You have a little more density to the fabric. It certainly drapes nicer, but it's not quite as lightweight and cool. So you got to have a little bit of everything and a different, and again, balance to those weights and not just be stuck in one rut. I think in all categories is important.
Well, Amy's absolutely getting
I
a kick
got-
out of this,
I
by
got
the way. But one of that actually brought up a question I wanted to ask was where you at on sustainability? Is that something?
Yeah, that's something we're thinking more and more about every day, and we're incorporating it more and more. We just signed a new deal starting next season. All of our labels and hang tags will be sustainable. We were looking at sustainable fabrics. I think we have to be careful not to sacrifice. I think it's wonderful to have sustainable fabrics, but you also want to be sure you're giving your customer the most comfortable and best fabrics to wear. So we're looking at, I was at a fabric show a month ago. We were looking at a new fabric made out of oyster shells that's completely sustainable, and it had the feel of almost like silk. So I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate that into our business. They're certainly showing a lot more sustainable fabrics. More of them are geared towards more of the what I would call the outdoor world. They're not necessarily right there for golf yet, but I think it's coming down the pipeline pretty hard, and you'll soon see more of that. But all the little things, our bags, our hang tags, our labels, we're all working towards sustainable goals there. Because what do most people, they take a bag and they just throw it away when it comes in. So I think it's a really important thing to address.
Well, it's funny
Yeah.
because obviously there's hopefully at some point there's some cost savings there too from a
Yeah.
manufacturing standpoint, right?
Yeah.
And less things that they'd have to dispose of. Hopefully, water
Yep.
and
Yeah.
waste. So hopefully that's a good thing for everybody. But you're right. At the end of the day, the quality is
Yeah.
first off.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I was supposed to bring up was just kind of checking to see how fast you guys got here today, and did anybody get a speeding ticket?
No.
On the
Oh
way?
gosh, I wasn't sure if you did, when
No.
you were saying that. I wasn't sure if you did, but
No.
we were full throttle until we got just
North of
just
it,
north
on
of
85.
of 285.
Yeah, smooth
but I can't
sailing.
wait to hear what was what prompted
Apparently-
this.
Apparently, there was a story about either a speeding ticket or at least a pullover on the way to see an account. Does that resonate?
It is not actually.
Okay, we'll have to.
I'm gonna have to, but I am aging, so I'm gonna have to think about that a good bit.
We'll fact check a little bit
Yeah.
more in on that one.
Yeah.
But,
Shoot, I wish I could remember that.
yeah, I mean, the funny travel stories are the best. You got any?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you guys are traveling, abroad or around, I mean, are there any good travel stories?
I try to stay off a plane anymore.
Yeah.
I've had some rough experiences on planes. This was more on me than anybody else, but 2 or 3 years ago, I had a trip out to San Francisco to help with an event, and I got off the plane, got to the rental counter, and went to give them my ID and my credit card, and realized I had left my wallet on the plane in San Francisco. So, beware. Don't leave your wallet anywhere other than in your pocketbook or your pocket or your bag. So that was dreadful. But the air travel to me has been a real challenge. And as Chris said, our entire team came into town last week for a sales meeting, and we had a rep who, it took him 18 hours to get here from Oklahoma, just one thing after another.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Speeding ticket.
We'll work on that.
I'm gonna need a refresher on that.
All right, so we're kind of getting to the point, if there's anything, coming from the crowd that anybody's
Softball, a
yeah,
softball.
Sparked any thoughts that have just been eaten at you. Not, we can wrap it up, but somebody's got to have a question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just a random one. Just what's your biggest win of the year? What do you feel like was something that you came across this year that was like a step forward or something that you felt like it's like a win?
We might have two, but I want to go.
There's one that's really obvious for us. I know we got to be thinking about the same thing.
You go, because
We were able to have our product at the Masters this year for the first time ever, and that was a real one that we didn't see coming until the last minute, and it was wonderful the way it went down, and we're most proud of that. In my previous life at Bobby Jones, that was my best account, and to have our product back in there and have our product at that tournament was the biggest bonus I think the company's had in a long time anywhere.
that was mine, but to show that there's not just one, we also have a big presence at St. Andrews, the home of golf, and we're making custom products specifically for them, kind of in conjunction with their design team, which has been it's really, I think that influences the U.S. market for people to go overseas and see our product over there. It validates what we're doing, and for them to be on board in such a big way is a real honor. So those two, I think,
Agreed.
are probably tied for me.
Yeah.
So.
All right, I'll run a couple of quick fast
Oh, boy.
balls at you. Okay. So you can't say Augusta National. And we're at East Lake, so you can't say that either. Favorite golf course?
Pine Valley.
Yeah,
I took yours.
yeah.
You're welcome.
Same favorite golf course?
I don't know that for sure, but
I've played Shinnecock as well, which I thought that was pretty spectacular. But
Pretty
yeah.
All right, so outside of the top 10, come on, give me
one of my favorite places that's a little under the radar is Chichessie Creek. It's a Crenshaw course down near Hilton Head. I love that place.
Yeah.
Crenshaw, yep, it's a good one.
Yeah. Oh, you want one from me too?
Outside of the top 10, I know that's a stretch.
Yeah, no. Gosh,
I can go on to the next one.
yeah, I enjoy playing a lot of different. It's hard for me to pick one.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Lame.
No,
Come on, these are fast
I'm
balls.
stalling.
All right, favorite vacation spot, like if you're getting out of town, where you like to go?
Bald Head Island.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like, actually, this is not really a vacation spot, but where our office is in Bristol, Tennessee, when I started going out there, we were staying in hotel rooms, and I've since acquired a little place out there, and that's up in the mountains of Tennessee, and it's come to be one of my favorite places to live. It's right on the Virginia-Tennessee border, and I'm working out there, but it's like a vacation a lot of times.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, favorite type of food? Like where do you go? Are you
Steakhouse guy, and I admit I'm not a steak snob. When I was traveling as a rep, it was Outback Steakhouse. You'll always know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
I'm not snobby about it, but if anybody in the room could say they don't know exactly what they're going to get when they go to Outback Steakhouse, they're lying to you.
Yeah. I'm a steakhouse guy as well, and I like
Probably a little more refined than that.
yeah, probably a little better than the Outback. But I love good food. I like to cook, actually. One of my favorite places to eat. Andy comes over to my place every night just about. We're in Bristol, and I cook dinner for us, and we hang out and kind of talk about the day.
Yeah.
And that's as good as going out to me.
Nice.
So, yeah.
He's got quite a variety too. It's not the same thing every time. It's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I think I've run out of.
It's been
fun
great.
Yeah,
Thanks
no,
so
thanks,
much.
Russell.
Here.
Appreciate
No, you've done
it.
a great job.
No,
Thank you so
very
much.
Thank you
Thanks
guys
for having
Appreciate
us.
here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
y'all.
you.